Have you ever wondered what the world actually sounded like, say, 2,500 years ago? Well, today, we're going to tune in to the surprising soundtrack of ancient Greece, and I promise you, it's a lot more than just togas and temples. So, to get us started, I've got a question for you. Think about all the different pieces of life in ancient Greece. Schools, sports, and even heading into a battle. What's the one thing that connected all of them? The answer, and this might sound a little strange to us, is music. Seriously. For them, it wasn't just entertainment. It was woven into pretty much everything they did. Okay, so let's dig into that. Just how essential was music? We're talking about a society where you would literally hear music from the moment you were born to the day you died. I mean, picture this. You go to a wedding. There's music. A funeral. There's music. Okay, that's pretty normal, right? But what if you went to the gym and instead of a workout playlist, you had live musicians there to help you keep your rhythm? Or imagine marching into battle with a piper, keeping the whole army in step. For the ancient Greeks, that was just normal. Music was absolutely everywhere. So why? Why was it so incredibly important? Well, for the ancient Greeks, music wasn't just something people made up for fun. They believed it came from a much, much higher place. See, in their world, music was a literal gift from the gods. They thought divine beings invented it, that it was this powerful tool for communicating really important ideas and bringing a kind of harmony to the human soul. And this is actually where we get one of our most important words. The term music comes straight from the Muses. They were these 9 goddesses who were in charge of all the arts and sciences. So for the Greeks, music was tied to everything from poetry all the way to astronomy. And their myths are just full of these amazing stories about music's divine origins. Get this. There's a legend that the god Hermes made the very first stringed instrument out of a tortoise shell he just found lying around. It just goes to show how deeply they connected melody with mythology. Okay, so let's talk about the actual instruments they played. What did their world sound like? Well, they basically had 2 main kinds of sounds, and each one had a totally different purpose. First up, we've got the superstar of Greek instruments, the lyre. You've probably seen it in movies. It's that small, handheld, harp-looking thing. You can think of it as the ancient Greek version of a chill acoustic guitar. It was gentle, it was calming, and it was perfect for storytelling. Right, so the lyre was all about that soft, calming sound. It was the instrument you'd use to accompany someone reciting a poem or telling a serious story. The Greeks connected it with Apollo, the god of music, and they saw it as a symbol of logic, reason, and order. Now get ready for its complete opposite, the aulos. If the lyre was a quiet acoustic guitar, the aulos was like an electric guitar, with the amp turned all the way up to 11. It was a loud, intense, double reed pipe, and it was basically the sound of a party. The aulos had this really loud, piercing sound that could cut right through the noise of a crowd. That made it perfect for big, high-energy events, like religious festivals, sports competitions, and especially the theater. It was all about intense feelings, passion, and excitement. So this contrast is the key thing to remember. You had the lyre for those moments of calm, order, and deep thought, and then you had the aulos for moments of wild emotion and big celebrations. The Greeks chose their instrument very carefully, depending on the exact feeling they wanted to create. So this belief that music had the power to shape your emotions had a huge effect on their society, especially when it came to education. Think about this. If you were a kid growing up in ancient Athens, going to school meant you learned reading, writing, math, and how to play an instrument. Music wasn't some optional extra you did after school. It was a core subject, just as important as anything else. And don't just take my word for it. The famous philosopher Plato himself said that a person couldn't be considered truly educated unless they understood music. They believed it helped create a disciplined, balanced, and, harmonious mind. And outside of school, music was the engine that drove their famous theater. Greek plays always had a chorus, which was a group of performers who would sing and dance, almost like a narrator. They'd explain what was happening in the plot and guide the audience on how to feel about it all. So after all this time, what's left of this ancient sound? Well, the musical legacy of the Greeks is surprisingly huge, and it affects us today in ways we probably don't even realize. Let's start with a connection that might seem a little weird at first. What in the world does playing an instrument have to do with solving a math problem? Well, for the Greeks, the answer was everything. The famous mathematician Pythagoras, yep, the same guy from your geometry class, made a massive discovery. He figured out that musical harmony isn't just a matter of taste, it's based on pure mathematics. Simple ratios in the length of a string create notes that just sound good together, like an octave. This was a mind-blowing realization. It suggested that the entire universe had a kind of hidden mathematical order, a cosmic harmony. And this powerful idea became the foundation for basically all of Western music theory that came after it. And finally, their influence is hiding in plain sight, in the words we use every single day. Every time you talk about a song's melody, its rhythm, or its harmony, every time you mention a chorus or an orchestra, you are speaking ancient Greek. They didn't just give us the words, they gave us the very concepts. So the big takeaway here is that for the ancient Greeks, music was never just background noise. It was this powerful force that could shape your mind, bring order to society, and maybe even reveal the secrets of the universe. Which leaves us with one last thing to think about. What would our world look like if we still believed that?